Jump and Biedrins on the opening tip, and the Mavericks control. This is Jason Terry, played by Baron Davis. Evan Harris. Terry for three. So the Mavs open up by hitting on their first shot.
A set play getting Jason Terry that open look. He was just 8 for 26 from the three-point line coming in. That's a big shot for Terry.
And Davis lost it. He was met on a switch by Jop and lost the handle. Dallas has dropped 5 straight road games to Golden State. They've lost 5 straight road games in the playoffs going back to the NBA Finals against Miami last season. Nowitzki with his first attempt.
Once again, a lot of switching on Dirk Nowitzki. 3 different Warrior players were on him in that possession.
Barnes able to save it. Richardson for 3. Yes. Jason Richardson, who hit 5 from downtown the other night, which tied a Golden State franchise playoff record, opens up with a 3. Harris on the penetration. Back comes Davis. Goes at Nowitzki. The tip was missed by Biedrins. Terry on the pull-up. Barnes rebound. And
I think this is where Dallas has to be careful. They've got to run into layups and free throws, quick post-ups tonight. They run for jump shots. They're playing right into Golden State's hands.
Jackson. Biedrins is fouled by Nowitzki. Andris Biedrins out of Riga, Latvia. First round draft pick back in 2004. Played in Latvia for a couple of seasons.
And I think he's the perfect complement to this Warrior team, Marv. He's not a scorer. He's got a very ugly free throw, as you see, that it goes in. But, you get a team full of guys who can shoot and run and jump. Now you've got a really active big man who can really crash the offensive boards. He complements these guys because he cleans up their mistakes.
As a rookie 3 years ago, at the age of 18, he was the youngest player in the NBA, the youngest player ever to appear in a game for the Warriors. Golden State with a 5-3 lead. We're just underway. Game 6 of the best of 7. A matchup of the number 1 seed and the number 8 seed. Howard with a long 3.
Golden State going into that 3-2 zone. We'll see both teams tonight playing a lot of zone.
Jackson with a beautiful lead for Biedrins.
And that's the problem for the Mavericks when they play that 3-2, which they play really to keep Davis out of the middle. They're very susceptible to interior passing.
A early timeout called by Avery Johnson. 7 unanswered for the Warriors. Pam Oliver.
Marv, the Warriors are happy to be home, happy for a chance to try to beat Dallas here. Don't get me wrong, they were bummed about that missed opportunity in Game 5, but they weren't exactly devastated by it. Just this afternoon, players were talking about a good vibe in the locker room. Baron Davis predicts better poise tonight because the Warriors are back in their own building. He adds, this is one we've got to win. Stephen Jackson, a Texas native, was the most direct about the situation. He said, even though his relatives got a chance to watch it play in person on the road, we don't want to go back there. I want to get this over tonight. Mark, back to you.
All right, thank you, Pam. Warriors' last appearance in the postseason, 1994. Jackson for three. A rainbow three for Stephen Jackson, and the Warriors have ripped off 10 consecutive points.
Jackson just 4 for 14 in Game 5, but one of the most fearless shooters in the NBA. Keep in mind, he's hit big shots in huge playoff games in his career. This situation does not faze him.
The steal by Davis. Richardson off the turnover by Dallas.
Well, we've already seen Avery Johnson burn one timeout. He's going to have to be very careful. I think the Mavericks are going to have to play through adversity tonight. Remember, in Game 4, Johnson burned up all his timeouts. They didn't have any left at the end of the game. They couldn't advance the ball.
Here's Harris. Terry swings it. Nowitzki for three. Rebounded by Jackson. Warriors have opened up with a burst. Richardson for three. And that would not have counted. It was waved off. A foul prior to the shot. It's on Terry for knocking down Baron Davis.
Well, I have fond memories of Stephen Jackson in the 2003 NBA Finals hitting huge shots against New Jersey. And then the defense. Remember, Golden State, #1 in the NBA in steals, 9 per game. Not noted for their defense, but they are very active, very strong and powerful. They force a lot of mistakes.
Jerry Stackhouse has come on for Dallas. They're on their feet here in Oakland. Barnes coming up short, rebounded by Stackhouse. Dallas scored on its first possession. Since then, 0 for 6. Howard is rejected. The hustle by Biedrins to come back and block the shot.
Well, we just saw Barnes take that three from the corner. The reason Don Nelson went with that change in the starting lineup, putting Barnes in for Monte Ellis. Ellis has really struggled with his shot the last couple of games. Barnes has been terrific.
Stackhouse knocks down a three. So Jerry Stackhouse, only 4 of 13, 15 points in Game 5, but has come on the last couple of games. He's 0 for 6 back in Game 1. Jackson again. A three-pointer for Jackson.
Well, they made 16 of them in Game 5, and part of the reason, as Nowitzki can't get another one to go, one of the reasons they get so many threes, Dallas playing a lot of zone to try to keep Baron Davis out of the lane and to try to keep Sagana Diop on the floor, but that zone allows for a lot of openings.
Davis tripped up. So he is fouled by Terry. That's 2 on Terry. Talking about three-pointers by Golden State. 16 of 35 from beyond that line. Led by Jason Richardson. 5 of 10, 3 apiece for Davis and Jackson.
2 fouls for Jason Terry. But with Stackhouse, this is one of the deepest teams in the NBA. Stackhouse, they can go with Greg Buckner, Devin George, but obviously they'd love to have Jason Terry on the floor.
Shot clock down to 3. Richardson digging and shoots. Biedrins with the back tap, handled by Stackhouse. Ball's knocked away by Richardson and off the leg of Stackhouse. Golden State very quick to move it down court. Here's Barnes. Nowitzki with the box-out rebound.
Remember, Barnes had some physical problems at the end of Game 5. Has a hamstring issue, really banged up. And it'll be interesting to see if he can get hot again or if those injuries are going to bother him. He's been a huge part of this series.
Stackhouse from deep in the corner with another three. So Jerry Stackhouse off the bench to hit consecutive three-pointers. The Warriors now lead it 15-9 with 6.5 remaining in this first quarter. They surround Biedrins. His shot is blocked. And it counts. It's a goaltend.
Now, this is a huge boost early for Golden State, getting quick points from Biedrins, because they will only play him 20 to 25 minutes. So if they can get this kind of production at both ends of the floor, it's critical.
Warriors here at home 30-11. Now this is a team that had a win on the final night of the regular season as Howard hits from downtown. They needed a victory in Portland on the final night of the regular season to clinch the 8th and final playoff berth. They went 42-40, and they came on strong, winning 9 of the last 10. That's a kick ball. So Golden State will maintain possession. And for the Warriors, this their first winning record since back in the 93-94 season, a team coached by Don Nelson, a team that won 50 games.
And you think this crowd isn't pumped up? They've been waiting 13 years for this. Maybe the best crowd in the NBA. Just an unbelievable atmosphere here tonight.
Here's Richardson kicking it out. Barnes with the running one-hander.
I don't know how he made that one. He didn't have the confidence in the jumper. He's missed a couple of them. He just kind of flicked that thing over Jop.
Warriors have hit 7 of 13. They lead it by 7. Harris stopped by Deirdre. His second block shot. Davis, little skip dribble, lost it. Jop comes up with it. Stackhouse trying for 3 straight. He's got it. 3 straight from downtown, from deep in the corner.
Jerry Stackhouse, I think, is the most tough-minded player on this Mavericks roster. Keep in mind, he was shooting 31% from the floor coming into this game, but he doesn't even think about it. Just lets 3 in a row go from downtown, and he's gotten his club back into the ball game. Dallas with 5 3-pointers here tonight early. Here early, but Warrior fans holding their collective breath here because on this last sequence, Baron Davis gets a little tweak. Looked like he got maybe his hamstring. Watch him on the way back. He holds his hamstring right here. And keep in mind, he's averaging 40-plus minutes per game in this series. He's had a lot of injuries in his career. In fact, health problems really have probably kept him from being one of the top players in the league on a year-to-year basis.
Combination of health and conditioning holding him back, but he's made it back from serious injuries. A knee problem at UCLA, herniated disc as a member of the Hornets, had arthroscopic surgery on his left knee this past February. So Monte Ellis has come off the bench to replace Baron Davis. Dallas sparked by Jerry Stackhouse. He came off the bench to hit 3 threes from that left-hand corner. And Dallas is within 4. Howard for 3. So the Mavericks have hit 6 shots. All 6 have been three-pointers.
And how about the play of Josh Howard? He's scored 20-plus points in every game in this series, averaging about 11 boards. Monte Ellis with a much-needed bucket. Just his second field goal in the last 3 games of this series.
Monte has been struggling. Last week he was named the NBA's most improved player. He averaged 16 points, shot 48% during the regular season. Nowitzki is stripped and fouled.
Well, now that Davis is out of the game, Dallas is really going to go back to that screen and roll involving Monte Ellis, because one of the reasons Davis is so effective defensively, he can switch on to Dirk. He's got the strength to deal with him. Ellis does not. If they can get that switch, Dallas can then go into Dirk. He can back Ellis down and get some good looks. And on that play there, he just went right to the rim. This is big for him getting to the foul line.
Dirk Nowitzki, very quiet in this series until game number 5 on Tuesday night. 30 points, 2 clutch threes in the final minute, scored 12 of Dallas's last 15 points. Easily his best game of the series. Avery Johnson told Dirk before the game, "You are one of the top players in the league. Be yourself. You're not a role player."
I have a feeling it wasn't that clean, but yeah, I know that was the message Avery sent. That's what he said to the media.
I cleaned it up.
You cleaned it up.
And that's last touched by Richardson of the Warriors. What are you saying here about Avery?
Well, I played with Avery. He can be a pretty fiery guy, all right? Let's just leave it at that.
No, let's keep talking about it. Howard. And on the back tap, it's handled by Stackhouse.
Well, how about the way Dallas has weathered this storm here early after that explosion from the Warriors? Stackhouse and Howard have really gotten them back into the game with the three-point shooting.
Nowitzki over Biedrins. He's been off. Kept alive, though. Howard able to get to it. And Harris resets.
But again, Dirk gets a good look. Dallas is more able to run some things for him without Baron Davis on the floor.
Harris being played by Ellis. Wanted the screen. Sets it up for Stackhouse. And rebounded by Richardson. Ellis fires. Yes. And Monte Ellis off the bench to hit 2 field goals, and the Warriors lead by 3.
Well, I think one of the keys tonight for Golden State, particularly if Davis is out, but even if Davis is healthy, they've got to get an unexpected contribution from someone, whether it's Ellis, Petrus, Al Harrington. Somebody has to step up and be productive for Don Nelson.
Al Harrington now checking in.
And here's the mismatch that Ellis is so good at taking advantage of. When he gets a bigger player on him, you have to be so wary of that speed and that ability to put the ball on the floor. But Ellis has a beautiful touch out on the perimeter.
Harrington coming out for Biedrins. Played well, sitting down with 6 points. Couple of blocks, 4 rebounds. Nice pass, but Howard too strong on the shot. Able to recapture. They have the new shot clock. Howard shoots it. Howard rebounds again.
Now this is what Golden State normally does to its opponents. They out-hustle people. They get a lot of extra opportunities, but Dallas very adept at giving itself second chance points as well.
Stackhouse is fouled. He and Harrington coming together. That's in the act. Stackhouse to the line. The foul on Harrington. Jerry Stackhouse in his 12th season out of North Carolina in his 3rd year with Dallas, following his days with Philadelphia, Detroit, Washington. This is a guy who averaged just under 30 a game. Remember 6 years ago as a member of the Detroit Pistons. Finished 2nd in scoring. He's been a 2-time All-Star these days. He has accepted that 6th-man role, can play backup, shooting guard, small forward.
And I'm just so impressed the way he willed himself back into the series. He was 0 for 6 in game 1. It really was missing everything the first 3 games. You saw that graphic. But he's averaged about 19 points a game the last 2 games, and he's done it by getting to the foul line. And you can see now he's got a little rhythm.
Beautiful lead pass from Ellis to Barnes. Golden State is up by 3.
Big contribution from Monte Ellis. The 2 jumpers, the pass there, and he could be the wild card here tonight.
Minute and a half to go in this opening quarter.
Golden State again in kind of a switching man-to-man zone.
Jackson with the lead out. Harris back. Here's Barnes. Delivers to Ellis, but it's an offensive foul on Barnes. Let's go to Pam.
All right, Marv, the life certainly went out of Oracle Arena when fans noticed that Baron Davis was headed back to the locker room. He remains in the locker room right now, getting a look at by the medical staff. Now, the Warriors say that Baron Davis has suffered a slight strain to his right hamstring. They're stretching him out, and they are sure hoping he returns. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Pam. Baron played the first 7 minutes, missed his only shot attempt. Here's Devin George, who just came on. Rebound snatched by Ellis. Warriors on the run. Ellis pops it out. Richardson for 3. And it appears that it was deflected out, and a foul is called on Barnes. You better be careful. Could be teed up off the reaction, but picks up his second foul.
Now, if he was Steven Jackson, he might have been kicked out of the game for that reaction. The fans are furious. Barnes with 2 fouls, and now this Warrior bench, which was already short to begin with, even shorter with Davis's injury.
Barnes, yes, a catch and shoot from downtown. So Matt Barnes shooting in rhythm provides a 6-point Golden State lead.
Well, we've already seen Dallas weather a storm. Now we're seeing Golden State do the same thing. Without their best player on the floor, they've managed to maintain this lead.
There's Stackhouse given very little room. Harrington and Jackson try to close out on him, and Stackhouse 4 of 5 from beyond that 3-point line. His 4th 3-pointer, and he has kept the Mavs in this ball game. Here's Jackson twisting his way, missed the tip, able to rebound, puts it up, and chased down by Howard. Final seconds of the first quarter. Howard lost it. Ellis from center court. It's good, but it's too late. Did not get it off on time. Oh my God. Very nice 2-hand set. This is a kid out of high school.
Didn't we see this somewhere before from about the same spot? Baron Davis in game 4 at the half, not even close to getting it off in time, but just another indication of the magic that the Warriors are somehow coming up with in this series. We got another barn burner, Marv.
That looked like a shot out of the 50s. 2-hand set, banks home, but will not count. Arena in Oakland. It is a raucous scene, and I say that in a good way. After one, Golden State with a 3-point lead. How about Dallas? 7 field goals, all from downtown, and it has been Jerry Stackhouse who has provided a lift in the first quarter.
Well, there's a reason they're getting so many open looks from 3. They are wearing out this Warriors zone. Look at these open looks for Stackhouse. Every time, the nearest guy is Andres Pedrix. He's the low guy on this 3-2 zone. But you can see it's too difficult for him to go all the way out to Stackhouse. Finally, Steven Jackson recognized it, but at this point, he's already hit 3. Jackson too late. And remember, that 3-point shot in the corner is the easiest 3-point shot on the floor. The line is just 22 feet in the corners. And Stackhouse, when he gets it going, he'll make that all night.
Golden State in possession as the second quarter gets underway. Dirk Nowitzki sitting down 0 for 4 from the field in the first quarter. Here's Jackson. Nice move, and he draws the foul. Baron Davis came out of the locker room and then apparently decided to make his way back to the locker room. And we're told, as Pam Oliver reported, it is a strained right hamstring. They taped it up, and the feeling is he will give it a try.
And this is why you talk about wasted opportunities. Golden State the other night up 12. With 3 minutes to go, they blow a golden chance to finish the series. This is why you have to finish playoff series when you get the opportunity. You never know what's going to happen. If Baron Davis is out for this game and Game 7, they have little to no chance of winning this series.
Well, the Mavericks had that game-ending 15-0 run. They were down by 9 in the closing minutes with about 3 minutes left after leading by as many as 21 in the first half, and that's when Dirk Nowitzki came alive with the 2 straight 3-pointers. Nice touch by Jason Terry, and that's the first 2-pointer of the night for the Mavs.
Terry coming off the bench after those 2 quick early fouls, wasting no time.
Ellis challenging Jop. Jop with the rebound. So the Mavericks have Harris in the backcourt along with Terry, and up front George with Stackhouse and Jop. Both Howard and Nowitzki on the bench. Here's Stackhouse from the other side. Rebounded by Barnes. How about Matt Barnes, who was a question mark because he thought he had Jackson, and they turn it over, but Barnes with that slight hamstring pull in the starting lineup. Don Nelson telling us he did not want him to sit and come off the bench because he felt that he might not have been ready if he had to sit for a long time.
He's been terrific in this series. The question now, though, for Golden State, as you saw that turnover, no Baron Davis. They've got to have different guys bring the ball up the floor.
Well, Jackson does right here. Here's Jackson all the way. Rebounded by George. Jackson was looking for a foul call. Nice play. Terry cannot finish, and it's deflected out. Last touch by Harrington. And once again, Baron Davis makes his way to the Golden State bench.
And you'd think, by that same logic that Nelly used for Matt Barnes, that Baron Davis would go right in the game now because his hamstring is now stretched out, I'm assuming, by the trainer. You don't want him sitting too long.
Josh Howard returns, coming on for Jerry Stackhouse, and here is Baron Davis walking slowly over to the scorer's table. Harris way off. Barnes setting it up. Oh, he sees the open path and then came up short. Howard with the lead pass that is chased down. And here's Howard at the other end.
And that's how they have to run. You know, they've got to come up, push the ball up the floor. If there's something easy, take it. If not, bring it back out and control the tempo.
So the game is tied at 29, and as you see, Steven Jackson is shaken up.
Now take a look. Matt Barnes with this little running jumper. Jackson is going to come in. Look at Richardson ending up on the back of Devin George. And it looked like maybe Jackson got poked in the eye.
22nd timeout is taken. 2 minutes and 15 seconds gone by. We are tied at 29. Game 6 of the best of 7 with Golden State in front 3-2. A deciding game 7, if necessary, would be Saturday night back at American Airlines Center in Dallas. Let's check in with Pam Oliver. Pam?
Well, Mark, Baron Davis was cool as a cucumber as he headed back out to the floor. He said to the team's trainer, "I played hurt before. I ain't tripping." Remember, Marv, Davis has a bad left knee, which has developed some swelling, and that's to go along with that slight hamstring strain that he just suffered. Back to you.
All right, Pam, I said the same thing a moment ago to Steve. I ain't tripping here.
You ready to go?
Yeah. Baron Davis handling against Devin Harris, and his pass picked off.
And a good choice by Jason Terry. Don't take the open three. Instead, make Baron Davis work. Look at Davis struggling with that hamstring. But a poor decision.
Oh, the save by Richardson nearly picked off, and now George comes up hobbling. Richardson for 3. Bodies falling all over the court. Harris puts the move on Davis. You can see Davis cannot move. Crowd wanted to travel on Harris, and Davis laboring. He's now defending on Terry up top. Terry looks to go at him. Davis was able to cut off the angle. Now Terry with the step and scores.
And Davis can't move. You can see it out there. Now he's pointing for Jason Richardson to take the ball. And this is disastrous for the Warriors.
Mavericks have taken a 31-29 lead off a 9-1 run. Davis with the shot. Will it count? No. Whistle before the shot attempt.
I think the officials are going to confer here. Steve Javie may call this bucket good. Obviously, the fans and the Warriors players begging it.
And that is a call. They say the basket counts. Like Garrettson was calling it off. And as you say, they conferred. So the game is tied at 31.
I'm not sure what the call was. It a 3-second defensive violation? Because I know they will cancel that out if the shot goes in. And that must have been it. If it had been a foul, there would have been a free throw attempted to go along with it.
Well, now we're told it was an inadvertent whistle. You hate when that happens. Here's Harris. Rebounded by Richardson.
And again, not the shot Devin Harris should take. I mean, when he's got openings, he's got to attack. But with plenty of time on the shot clock, Dallas has to make Golden State work, especially with Baron Davis injured out here.
Davis to the pull-up. It's kept alive. Petrus, who just came on, was able to get to it. Richardson. And it's deflected out. Last touch by George. And that leads to a timeout.
Well, it may take a Willis Reed type effort here tonight from Baron Davis for Golden State to win, limping on one leg. Gets the jumper to go, but how much does he have in the tank?
And Steve, this has evolved into the series of the first round of the playoffs. Snoop Dogg is on hand. Hall of Famer Ronnie Lott. There's Woody Harrelson. And Kate Hudson and Owen Wilson. Kate attended Crossroads High School in L.A. and a good friend of Baron Davis.
I thought it was nice of you, too, to lend your gold chain to Snoop Dogg tonight. Looks better on him than it does on you, though.
Thank you. I should mention that Baron also attended Crossroads in Santa Monica in L.A. Jackson. And the tip put home. Petrus will get credit. Michael Petrus in his 4th NBA season. Grew up in the French Caribbean island of Guadeloupe. And then left to spend his youth in France. Here's Harris. And the game is tied at 33.
Well, if you want to see a Don Nelson lineup, this is it on the floor. All 5 guys able to step out on the floor, shoot threes. We're going to see an offensive foul here on Davis. But with this lineup right now, Al Harrington's going to have to make some plays for Don Nelson, particularly with Davis struggling. Biedrins was terrific early, but Harrington's going to have to make some shots, make Sagana Diop respect him, and stretch the floor a little bit.
4th turnover committed by Davis. 5 minutes gone by here in the second quarter. Nowitzki is back, played by Harrington. And that pass picked off. Petrus wide open for 3. Nowitzki with the rebound. Dirk Nowitzki looking for his first field goal. 0 for 4 thus far. And a blocking foul called on Richardson.
Well, how about Dallas's shooting so far? 11 for 33. They're shooting 33%, but they've made 7 of 11 threes. That's how they're in the ball game. But you look at what would have been the 3rd foul on Jason Terry, but clearly a block on Richardson. Although I don't know if the crowd quite agrees.
Nowitzki. The tip by Diop. Sagana Diop, who was a major contributor the other night. With 11 points, 5 for 5 from the field. Jackson with his 3rd 3. He has 10 points.
Well, Mark, Diop has been a huge part of this series, particularly in the last couple of games. Dallas has been able to keep him on the floor, as I think we're going to see a charge. That looks like Harrington was underneath the restricted line.
Well, apparently they are saying the basket counts.
Well, take a look. Devin Harris is picking on Davis now. He knows Davis can't move. And yes, good call from the officials. Harrington sliding in, and his feet were absolutely on the line. And Marv, I started to talk about the effectiveness of Sagana Diop. What he does in this series, he occupies somebody in the lane on offense. So it makes Golden State come over and help. But more importantly, at the defensive end, he can protect the basket. That's one of the reasons the Mavericks have gone to a 3-2 zone for much of the last 3 games. They've protected him, and he in turn protects the basket.
That was last touched by the Mavericks. Just under 6 to play in the first half, and Dallas has a 1-point lead.
Don't touch me, I don't know where your hands be. Words of encouragement. Clean that up.
He's got, well, lots of words.
What the hell?
Don't miss the all-new comedy series House of Pain, premiering June 6th at 9 on TBS.
Coverage of the NBA playoff continues Friday or tomorrow, depending on what time zone you're in. On ESPN will be Game 6 of the Raptors and Nets starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Sunday on ABC, Game 7 of Nets-Raptors if that series extends to 7, or Game 1 between the Nets and the Cavaliers, followed by Game 1 of the Spurs and the Suns. Here's Ellis with a reverse. The tip by Biedrins.
Well, that's what Biedrins does. You saw Jock come over to help out on the Ellis lay-in, but Biedrins will clean that up every time.
Golden State has recaptured the lead.
Back to that 3-2 zone. Watch Terry in the corner.
Pass intended for Jock, broken up. Davis got a piece of it. Here's Jackson. Davis from three-point territory. Rebounded by Jock.
Now, sooner or later, as Howard gets the run out, but the foul on Steven Jackson. And Mark, I was going to say, sooner or later, Baron Davis is going to stop making threes. He was a 30% three-point shooter in the regular season. You see him casting one here. 52% in this series. But look at him. Can he get back? No, he's hobbled. He asked for help, and Howard takes advantage. But he's never been a consistent long-range shooter. He's been on fire to this point, but at some point the law of averages take over.
Game is tied at 38. 9 points for Howard. But once again, it has been a case of Dirk Nowitzki not being able to get into the offense. 0 for 5 from the field, just 2 points.
And the Warriors do an excellent job on Dirk, and they're paying a lot of attention to him. They're sending a guy kind of in his lap, and as a result, the Mavericks are getting some open threes.
Petras for 3, way off. And back comes Terry. Stackhouse, yes. What a first half for Jerry Stackhouse. 5 for 8, 16 points in 10 minutes.
And again, Dallas runs with the intention of getting an easy shot. Jerry Stackhouse from 15 feet. Avery Johnson will take that every time.
Job got a piece of it, recovered though by Jackson. Davis, played by Howard, takes the shot and scores a 3 for Baron Davis.
Like I said, he's going to stay on fire from the three-point line for the rest of the series.
So now you do not believe in law of averages. Warriors have a 1-point lead. There's Terry. Nowitzki gets to it. Dallas couldn't believe there was no foul on that contact. Terry's pass broken up. Comes to Howard. Howard bottled up. Howard. Oh, what a recovery by Josh Howard.
He's 4 of 11. He's missed some shots, but he's being so aggressive. You have to love his intent. And he's been the Mavericks' best player throughout this series.
Dallas by 1. Jackson off the spin. That will not count. Foul before the shot attempt. Foul on Howard. That's his first.
Well, Howard just does a little bit of everything. He can knock down the 3, as we saw earlier. But he can also put the ball on the floor. Gets a lot of offensive rebounds, a lot of garbage buckets like that one where he just picks up a loose ball and uses his athleticism to get the ball into the bucket.
Matt Barnes returns for Michael Petras. Barnes, Biedrins, Jackson up front, Davis and Ellis at the guards. There's Davis, a quick shot. What a release. It's another 3 for Baron Davis to give Golden State a 2-point edge.
Well, you get the sense that he knows he can't penetrate with the same effectiveness that he has been, so he's going to just start firing away.
Rare miss for Stackhouse. Here comes Ellis to the pull-up. Biedrins on the back tap, handled by Terry. Just under 3 minutes remaining in this first half. Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, Pam Oliver. We're in Oakland. for Game 6. Nowitzki off balance, rebounded by Biedrink. Davis all slapped away, and Terry in the open floor. So Terry lays it home, and that ties the game.
Davis, again, doesn't get back defensively. He can't expend the energy to do so, but more importantly, the move that he made put him in a position where he had to throw that wild pass. He just does not have it tonight.
Biedrink, a little over-anxious. He saw he had the opening with Jop off to the other side.
Well, the injury to Davis is leading to some uncharacteristic poor decisions and passes from him. Dallas with the easy two coming from Jason Terry.
Night, San Antonio and Phoenix wrapped up their series. They advance. They'll meet in the Western Conference semifinals. Earlier this evening, the Jazz over the Rockets 94-82. Carlos Boozer led the way for Utah, 22 points, 9 rebounds. Tracy McGrady, 26 points and 10 rebounds. They'll play a 7th and deciding game in Houston Saturday night and here on TNT. Well, there's the owner of the Mavericks, Mark Cuban. There was a bitter parting of the way between Don Nelson and Mark Cuban. They are not on speaking terms. Nelson says proceedings have begun for an arbitration hearing as Nowitzki misses again. He's 0 for 7, rebounded by Jackson. Here's Barnes. And rebounded by Jop. Nelson feels that Cuban and the Mavericks owe $6 million, $6 million plus on that original contract that he signed with the former Mavericks owner, Ross Perot Jr. Nowitzki cannot find the range, and a foul is called as Davis hits the deck. The foul is on Howard. Mark Cuban says he's not received any official paperwork regarding the claim of Don Nelson, so there is a subplot to this series off the court.
Well, it's something that, a little gamesmanship from both guys, but particularly from Cuban. Dallas has obviously been so threatened in this series. We heard Avery Johnson the other night after Game 5 say that the Warriors now have 10,000 pounds of pressure on their right arm. I think Cuban trying to pile on top of that a little bit, and that's what's made this pretty intriguing, both on and off the floor.
Davis over to Nowitzki. How about Baron Davis hobbling around, suffered the strained hamstring, late in the first quarter, but hitting his shots after returning in the second.
A heroic effort. I think it's hurting him at the defensive end of the floor even more than at the offensive end.
Stackhouse, Jop rebounds. Gets it back to Stackhouse.
Boy, Jop has been absolutely huge here tonight and in the last couple of games of the series. But he's played big minutes. They're 22 minutes in this half. That's how effective he's been for Avery Johnson.
Nowitzki finally knocks one down. He missed his first 8 shots. Jackson went down. He thought he was pushed by Nowitzki. The game is tied at 46 with a half-minute left. In the oh, Davis with a leader. He thought he was being fouled. He just looked to fire it, and he scores from three-point territory.
Reminiscent of that shot late in Game 5 that put the Warriors up 12 with 3 minutes to go. Just a heave, a total hoist.
Baron Davis has the last 11 points for Golden State. Their Stackhouse just did beat the shot clock. 7 seconds left in the half. Warriors lead by 1. Barnes goes behind the back on a crossover, recovers, and is fouled. Fouled by Nowitzki. Not a good foul. It puts Dallas over the limit.
Well, if it seems like the Warriors are kind of hanging on by a thread here, it's because they keep coming up with crazy plays like this one just to stay in the game. Davis off 1 foot just tried to draw the foul. He was going to go for the quick 2 for 1. The game clock was at about 35 seconds. He thought he got fouled, throws it up, just tries to get free throws, and somehow that shot goes in.
Reminder coming up on the T-Mobile halftime report. Ernie, Charles, and Kenny will have highlights of the Rockets and the Jazz, and we'll take a look back at what has occurred here in the first half. Matt Barnes has given the Warriors a 2-point lead. Matt Barnes, originally a second-round pick of the Grizzlies. He's played for the Clippers, the Kings, the Sixers, the Knicks, back to Philly, now Golden State. Also played in the D-League and has played very well this season.
He's a typical Don Nelson type player. Very versatile, very long, and he's got the ability to make shots.
How about Nowitzki losing a shoe as he tried the fling with time running out?
Boy, tough half for Nowitzki, 1 for 9. Then he has to throw a 90-foot heave without his shoe on that makes his stats look even worse.
Well, a wild first half, typical of what has taken place in this series between Golden State and Dallas. And the Warriors with a 50-48 lead. Let's go to Pam with Stephen Jackson.
Yeah, Stephen, tell me about this ball game so far. So far, it seems like you guys are being able to execute many of the things that you wanted to.
Yeah, we were playing great offense, but we're playing terrible defense. They're getting a lot of open shots. And when you let a team like this get open shots, they're going to stay in the game. We got to play better D.
What are the thoughts on the heart and soul of this team, Baron Davis, at this point?
Yeah, he's not feeling too well today. His knee's kind of sore. He can't really get loose, so this is when the team comes in effect. We got to pick up the slack.
You said it point blank, you have no desire to go back to Dallas, so how do you finish him off in the second half?
Well, be more solid on defense, continue to shatter ball offense, and let our crowd do the rest.
Nice job. Thanks, Stephen. All right, let's send it to Ernie in Atlanta. We got us a good one here, Ernie. Back to you.
To stage a remarkable upset of the #1 seed in the Western Conference. They are 24 minutes away, but what a 24 minutes that's going to be. Ernie Johnson, Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley, T-Mobile halftime report. The linchpin to this whole thing for Golden State has been Baron Davis, so you can understand the collective holding of breath in that arena, Oracle Arena, when Baron Davis tweaked his hamstring. About 5 minutes left to go in the first quarter. He was scoreless in the first quarter. And he leaves and then would come back, and he was not at first the same Baron Davis, obviously.
He wasn't at first, and even though he probably scored 11 straight baskets, he did it differently than he normally had. And that's going to be a concern for Golden State Warriors. And if you look at the way Baron Davis plays, you could tell that this is not indicative of him. Right here, he would try or attempt to take Jason Terry to the basket, but with the hamstring, he becomes a jump shooter. He had some of them fall, but then in the defensive end, he has to be such a reluctant defender. It allows Harris to get an easy opening. And here, he's just trying to bull his way to the basket, where he would have just gone by Devin Harris or Jason Terry doing it. Even though he scored, he hit the one-legged jump shot. He hit all of those were long-range shots. Prior to this, I think prior to this series, the one knock on Baron Davis was he can fall in love with the three. And tonight, he has to fall in love with the three because of the injury.
52% from the arc coming into this one for the postseason. Meantime, Charles, you talked about Dallas weathering the storm. Golden State came out, threw a 12-0 run at them right away. But Jerry Stackhouse was just huge.
Well, first, we got to call out, man, Dirk Nowitzki, I don't know what the hell he's doing, man.
Here's Stack first.
Stack played fantastic, but if Dirk Nowitzki continue to shoot jump shots, there's no way Dallas can win this game. I'm not even going to count that last shot. He's 1 for 9.
1 for 10, yeah.
Yeah, but the last little heave was I'm not going to count him. He's still 1 for 9, and he made his last shot. He's got to take the ball to the basket and be more aggressive. When you're struggling, you don't shoot more jumpers. There was a point if a great player, there comes a point when you can't make a jump shot if you're a jump shooter. You just got to put your head down. Even if you have to run over somebody and get an offensive foul, it will at least get you back in the game. If I couldn't make a shot, I said, you know what? If I have to run over somebody like a dog, I'm going to do it on the next play. And Dirk Nowitzki, if it weren't for Stackhouse, they'd be getting killed. But Dirk Nowitzki got to play better.
Dirk hasn't gone this whole season, never went through a first half without a basket. He just, with under a minute, got his only bucket of the first half. And how about Dallas? In the first quarter, 7 buckets, all 3-pointers. And in the first half, Jerry Stackhouse has 18 points to lead him, and we got a whale of a game. 50-48 at the break. 24 minutes to go in this one. Is it 24 minutes to go in Dallas's season? We will see. And here's Barron somehow, part of 11 straight Golden State points.
Welcome to the T-Mobile Halftime Report. T-Mobile, official wireless services partner of the NBA.
Emmett Okur was 4 for 25 in the series from three-point range.
What was
Tonight
it tonight,
he was 4 for 7.
4 for 7, wide open, comfortable, in rhythm, knocked that shot down. Again, Derek Fisher getting to the basket, finding him again, wide open, comfortable, in rhythm, knocking shots down.
You know, him and Karolinko have not had a good series. They got to pick it up if Utah's going to be able to win in Houston.
Well, they picked it up today.
Tonight, yeah.
Give me that. Give me that.
Karolinko getting up and blocking Yao Ming, one of 5 blocks on the night.
Give me that.
Andre.
You know, the one thing that he did, his defense picked up. He played great defense on Tracy McGrady, and then his offense came to him. He got a couple of layups, and then he started hitting the jumper as well.
And he was lively. Well. He was all over the floor,
all over
like the old Andre Karolinko.
And it was his defense that woke his offense up, because here he is, and then now he starts slicing to the basket because he's playing so aggressively on the defensive end. Got a couple of layups. Now I got blocks, I got layups. You know what? I'll take a jumper. You know, and now everything's rolling. Now I'm AK-47. Yeah. It's back on and popping right now.
Part of an 11-2 late Jazz run, and there is Okur, and said, hey, you know what? We're going to see you in Houston.
He's like, if Karolinko can score, I know I can shoot it.
Yeah, let's go to a Game 7, 94-82. Utah stays alive. Home team has won every game in this series. The Jazz take this one by a dozen. After the game, Tracy McGrady.
Tracy, you think this Game 7 coming up is the biggest game of your career to date?
No. Not at all. I've been in other Game 7s. Why would this be the biggest?
Just that it's happening now, I mean, do you think?
No, not at all.
What is the biggest game of Tracy McGrady? What is
Tracy.
it then? Here is Game 7s. They lost by 15 in 03 when they blew the 3-1 lead. And you see he went 7 for 24, 10 for 26, and a 40-point loss at Dallas in 05. And so when that brings you to Game 7 in your gym against Utah on Saturday, how can that not be the biggest game in Tracy McGrady's career?
Well, it's the biggest game because it's the next one.
But how can Tracy McGrady say it is not?
Well, a lot of guys say that to relieve pressure. You know, it's really unfair, that stat you just showed, because neither one of those series were they favored to win. You know, Robert Orr, somebody I had great respect for, said something the other day. He says he never feels pressure when he takes those shots. And the guy said, why? He said, because they're not going to blame me. And unfortunately, Tracy McGrady is going to get the blame if the Rockets don't win.
He also said before the series, if we don't get through the first round, it's on me.
Yeah, but that was just his ego talking. He's played well. Some of those other guys have not played very well. But, you know, that's just the way it is when you're a star. You're going to get the credit. You're going to get the blame. That's just how it is. It's not right. It's not wrong. But if they lose this series, it won't be because Tracy McGrady. But I expect them to play well. You want one game at home to win a series? That's all you can ask for.
Well, yeah, and no question about it. But if it blame, get the blame, and you accept the credit, you accept the blame both ways.
Game 7 on TNT Saturday night. We're coming back in just a second.
Whoa, there's your guy.
You know it's a big game when he shows up. Look at that. It's painful to watch.
That hurts.
How do you know that hurt?
Back here on the T-Mobile Halftime Report, here's what we know about our Saturday schedule. Chicago at Detroit, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, and Game 7 between Utah and Houston. Don't know the times yet. It'll all be official after the game that you're watching right now, because we could have 3 games on Saturday. We could have just those 2 on Saturday, depending on what happens in Golden State. So we'll give you the times, but we know they're on TNT on Saturday.
Oh, does it hurt, Chuck? Does it hurt?
Hey, Kenny, why don't you let me do that to you?
It appears to be
You're doing it to yourself.
You should let me do that to you, Kenny.
That's just...
It's all right.
I would love to do that to
I
Kenny.
think the facial expression says it all. A great second half is on the way in Golden State.
Thanks for watching the T-Mobile Halftime Report. T-Mobile, official wireless services partner of the NBA.
back in Oakland, Game 6 of this best of 7. What has been a terrific series. We're headed to the second half, and the Warriors have a 50-48 lead over the Mavericks. Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, Pam Oliver. Looking back at the first half, the story for Dallas, the offense, Jerry Stackhouse, who did it coming off the bench for 18 points. And how about Baron Davis, despite that strained hamstring injury suffered late in the first quarter, he comes on and puts up 13 points in the second quarter.
Well, Davis is incredible, but he had to take some difficult shots to get those points. The problem for Golden State is once he got injured, they lost the pace, the tempo of the game. The game is no longer chaotic now that Davis isn't healthy defensively. He's not able to push the ball. This is a Dallas tempo, and unless the Warriors can continue this incredibly hot three-point shooting, as you look at the halftime summary, I think they're in a little bit of trouble here because this is not the type of atmosphere and the type of tempo that the Warriors need to win.
Here's Jackson. Barnes gets to it and pops it out to Richardson, but it's waved off. Barnes was out of bounds as he came up with that ball in the scramble. Let's check it with Pam Oliver.
Marv, Baron Davis got right into the locker room for some more treatment on that hamstring strain at the half. The Warriors say Davis used the time to stretch. Coaches say the key for him will be to force people to come since he can't penetrate. Avery Johnson said, we're going to go after Baron, trap him a bunch, and make him have to work really, really hard on defense. Back to you.
Well, that has been the problem at the defensive end. Here's Howard trying a three-pointer, and back comes Barnes. Oh, beautiful pass. Jackson to Barnes on target. Looks like Barnes is in pain. He's playing with a slight pull.
With both Davis and Barnes laboring, I don't know how many easy buckets like that one they're going to get. It's up to Dallas now to maintain the tempo, control the tempo, make good decisions offensively.
Here is Terry. And the other concern for the Mavs, Dirk Nowitzki, only 1 of 10 from the field. Richardson gets inside. Nowitzki has to be careful because he is playing with 2 fouls. Dirk's been out of the offense.
Well, he's been completely out of rhythm. And sometimes with a shooter like Nowitzki who relies so much on rhythm, he's not a technically sound shooter. He's way off balance on a lot of his shots, fading away. A little tougher to get out of a run when you're an off-balance shooter.
Foul is called on Golden State as Terry made his cut. Foul on Barnes. That's his 3rd.
Well, Dallas really going at Davis. You see Terry getting into the lane, the foul there on Golden State. But the previous possession, Davis got an ISO'd with Terry, and the same thing there. 3 in a row trying to get at him.
Shot clock down to 3. Howard, yes. Warriors lead by 2. Baron Davis hit his last 4 shots at the end of the second quarter. Barnes, oh, what a rejection. Emphatic block by Chop, and the save by Barnes. Able to deflect it off Terry.
Well, Sagana Diop has now played 25 minutes. His numbers aren't great, but this is what he's out there for. He's clogging the lane. Warriors aren't getting a lot of easy buckets like they were the last 5 games, and a lot of it has to do with Diop's presence.
Baron Davis scored 11 of the last 12 points in the second quarter for Golden State. Nice setup from Davis for Beatrice, and as Davis backpedals, you can see that he is hobbling. Harris picked up on a switch, now going at Davis, able to whip by and scores on the reverse. What a beautiful move.
Well, they switched Davis over from Terry to Harris, and as soon as Dallas recognized that, they went right at Davis again.
Foul is called on Terry.
It's kind of the same philosophy that Don Nelson has. Avery Johnson kind of using the Nelly philosophy, go at the other team's star. The Warriors have gone at Nowitzki defensively this entire series, or offensively, but now the tables are turned, particularly with Davis's hamstring problem, because he's normally an excellent defender.
There's the 3rd foul on Terry, and now Harris, who has had foul difficulties throughout this series, is called right there as Davis try to make his move. along the baseline. For Harris, only his first.
You know, this game is there for Dallas if they want it, but they're not right. You can feel, I mean, they're not smooth at all, and they leave Jackson open for a wide open three.
Warriors with a 59-54 lead. They've hit 9 of 15 from beyond that three-point line.
And if I'm Avery Johnson, I think I'm going to go back to the man-to-man a little bit, especially because Davis isn't as big of a threat to penetrate.
Nowitzki from way downtown. Nice hustle there by Howard, but then a foul is called as Davis was tripped up. Howard was going for the save, and then the scramble continued. The foul is charged to Jop. And for Dallas already, that's 3 team fouls.
So you heard Steven Jackson at halftime talking to Pam Oliver. Pam asked him, what do you need to do to win? He said, we got to share the ball, we got to defend better, and we got to let our crowd take us home. Well, the crowd's in it now.
Jackson from straight away for 3. Yes! Avery Johnson wants to talk it over.
The drama of solving a crime comes from finding justice for someone who's seeking it.
There's a moment where the pieces all fit together.
I know what this looks like, Chief. This kid's no gangster.
That's what it's about.
The Closer. The new season premieres Monday, June 18th on TNT.
Steve, the question is, what is going on with Dirk Nowitzki? Just 1 for 11 from the field. And the other day had that mystifying quote that we'll get to in just a moment. It's an 8-point Golden State lead. Here's Howard for 3.
Warriors go to a 3-2 zone out of the timeout, knowing that Avery Johnson was going to draw something up against a man-to-man.
There's Harris, and he is blocked by Davis. All right, here's what Dirk had to say prior to Game 4. I wouldn't say we're worried, but our backs are against the wall. If we lose game 4, the season is pretty much over.
This is the potential MVP, the probable MVP, the guy who's supposed to be your alpha dog. Even if you're down 3-1, we saw Phoenix come back from 3-1 last year. 8 teams have done it, and you hate to see that if you're Dirk's teammate as far as a confidence standpoint.
Well, the Mavericks did come from behind with that dramatic run, and trailing 3-1, did take game number 5, but in a hole right here. Howard knocks down a 3. Josh Howard has played well. 16 points for Howard. It's a 62-57 Golden State lead.
It's a shootout, 3-point shootout. You see Richardson posting about Terry, and the help comes from Stackhouse.
A defensive 3-second violation, which will lead to a technical foul. Well, the Warriors have hit 10 of 16 from downtown. Dallas 8 of 19. Steven Jackson 5 for 5 from beyond the three-point line. He's tied his playoff career high for three-pointers made. His 4th time with 5. So he's 5 for 5 from three-point land, 0 for 7 on 2-point shots.
And one of those guys who just doesn't really care. I mean, like Baron Davis, same way. Another 3 from Jackson.
Now that is a new playoff career high for three-pointers for Steven Jackson as the Warriors extend to a 9-point lead. It matches their biggest lead of the night. Beatrice with the rebound. Barnes runs the floor. Leaves it for Jackson, who fires. Yes! Timeout, Dallas. Steven Jackson has scored the last 13 points for the Warriors in the midst of a 13-3 run.
And when I said Steven Jackson doesn't care, I mean it in the best possible way. He doesn't care about missing. It doesn't matter if he's missed 5 or 6 in a row. He's still going to fire away. Same goes for Baron Davis. And even with Davis hurt, the Warriors have gotten back to that mentality that they had for most of this series. They're just letting it fly.
20,677 here at Oracle Arena in Oakland. It's an all-time record crowd for the Warriors, and we're told it marks the largest crowd to ever witness a basketball game in the state of California. What emotion and what energy from this crowd here in Oakland. And Steve, even when this franchise was going through its lean years, the crowd still came out. You had the enthusiasm. Not quite what we're seeing here in recent weeks.
Not quite, but I think it's the best crowd in the NBA, and they deserve what they're getting right now. It's been a long time coming for Warriors fans, 13 years to be exact.
A call by Steve Javie away from the ball. It's on the Warriors. Foul on Jackson. That's his 3rd. Avery Johnson has sent on Jerry Stackhouse. Austin Crozier is in for the first time as Dirk Nowitzki is up front with Crozier and Howard. Crozier had a good one off the bench the other night. Here's Crozier getting inside, and he is stopped. Davis playing on one leg. Davis puts the move on. Beatrice is fouled.
You know, Marv, I talked to Flip Saunders last week, and I asked him about what was going on in this series. And he said, you know, Dallas is kind of going through what we went through a year ago. Remember the Pistons won, 65 games, I think? But they spent the month of April basically playing meaningless games, and it cost them in the playoffs. They lost their edge. I think the same thing has happened here to Dallas. They spent about 3 or 4 weeks, resting guys, not playing for anything in particular. They struggled down the stretch. They went 6-4. Meanwhile, Golden State had to fight and claw its way into the playoffs. They won 9 out of 10. and you can see the difference. I mean, Don Nelson's team playing with great energy. They're playing with an edge. Dallas has lost that edge. And we know what happened to the Pistons even after advancing last year. We'll see what happens with the Mavericks.
Funny, it did affect the Chicago Bulls when they won 72 games.
Michael Jordan was around. That's a little different story.
Here's Stackhouse rimming out. Crozier with the rebound. Crozier comes up short. He was looking for contact. Davis to Barnes. He lost the handle.
The roof would have come off in this place if he had made that one.
Crozier. Rebounded by Biedrins. Coming up on 5 minutes remaining in the third. Davis able to penetrate. Baron Davis, despite the hamstring pull, put it on the floor and was able to go right at Jason Terry. Golden State has opened up a 14-point lead.
And Avery Johnson does not want to use another timeout. He's got to save some for the end of the game, but he may need one the way his team is playing.
Nowitzki had it knocked aside. It's a 15-3 run by the Warriors. Biedrins and Barnes late in coming to the front court, and the three Warriors had to wait for the rest of the squad to make it up court. Shot clock down to 6. Davis whips by Nowitzki and is fouled by Crozier, and Davis and Crozier having words.
Former high school teammates.
Look out.
Mark Wonderlick gets knocked down. Remember, Crozier and Baron Davis both went to Crossroads High in Santa Monica. And remember, almost the same thing happened in Game 5 when Davis drove baseline. Another hard foul, very clean foul from Crozier. No reason for Davis to be upset, but the emotion in here is unbelievable.
And that would not be a good exchange if you had two guys ejected and one is Baron Davis.
Pretty good trade for Dallas.
Nothing personal against Austin.
We love Austin.
But they are handing out double technicals. It has been a very testy series. Total of 15 technicals. See, 272 fouls, 4 disqualifications, all on the part of Golden State. Several ejections.
And you know what's shocking to me, Marv, is the way Baron Davis is going around these Mavericks defenders, even with the pulled hamstring. I mean, their defense, the Maverick defense, has completely collapsed. You see Nowitzki go to the bench with just 4 points, 1 of 11 shooting. They are so out of whack right now. It is shocking.
Including the playoffs, the Warriors have won 9 of the last 12 games against Dallas, 6 of 8 this season, including the postseason. They swept the season series 3-zip, including 2 blowouts by 17 and by 29. Both those games here in Oakland. And back in March, they were the ones who snapped the Mavericks' 17-game win streak. 73-57. Golden State with 4:15 left in the third. Job lost it. Richardson with Stackhouse picking him up. Jackson off the fake is fouled by Howard. So Jackson to the line. Let's go to Pam Oliver. Pam?
Well, Mark, the Mavs shoot around today. The media has plenty of performance questions for Dirk Nowitzki. Can you do it again? Do you feel like much is riding on your shoulders? Dirk downplayed things as usual, but his teammates know they've got to have another standout night from their stars. So far, nothing.
All right, Pam, and one of the Warriors stars, Stephen Jackson, at the line. He's 2 of 3 at the free throw strike.
And what's happened here in the third quarter, Marv, they've gotten back to that chaotic style that suits them so well. I watched the game last night in Phoenix, and Craig Sager came on the telecast. He called the Suns' offense, I think it was organized chaos, or organized chaos, I think was the term. This is just chaos. I mean, there's not much structure involved with what Golden State does. They just go. And they've got the motor running here in the third quarter. The crowd is into it. This is unbelievable.
He's making the right choice.
Well, the right choice is pretty easy here in the third quarter. If you're Golden State, just throw the ball to Steven Jackson. On fire here, 4 for 4 from downtown. He's got 13 points. And, Steven Jackson has always been one of those players where you got to take the good with the bad. Jackson has 21 turnovers in this series coming into tonight. So, he's a guy who's going to make 4 or 5 mistakes, but he's also fearless with that jump shot.
Warriors have outscored the Mavericks 25-9 in this third quarter. Dallas only 4 of 13 shooting. Warriors 8 of 11, 4 for 4 from beyond that three-point line. Dirk Nowitzki, who has been invisible, continues to sit. Crozier fouled as Barnes tried to knock it aside. That's 4 on Barnes. 4th team foul called on Golden State. Mavericks are over the foul limit. So Avery Johnson goes with Harris and Terry at the guards, with Crozier, Jop, and Stackhouse up front.
And at what point do you get Dirk Nowitzki back into the ballgame if you're Dallas?
Here's Terry for 3. Jackson tips it. Handled by Biedrink. And here comes Davis.
Biedrink's playing another big role here in the third quarter with that rebounding ability.
Davis met on a switch, played by Jop. He goes at him, and a foul.
We got the penalty now for 3.5 minutes, and Baron Davis knows that. So as soon as he gets that switch on Jop, rather than settle for the 3, he attacks and earns 2 trips to the foul line.
Coverage of the NBA playoffs continues. Friday on ESPN, it's Game 6 of the Raptors and the Nets, starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Sunday on ABC, Game 7, if there is a Game 7 between the Nets and the Raptors. Nets looking to conclude matters on Friday night. But if the Raptors win, it goes to a 7th and deciding game. And that will be seen on ABC. Or Game 1 between the Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers, followed by Game 1 of the Spurs and the Suns. That coverage starts 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A 20-3 run by the Warriors.
Golden State stays in this 3-2 zone. And what's the call here?
Stepped out of bounds.
Stepped out of bounds, so they get the baseline shot that they're looking for, or at least that baseline area where Stackhouse was so effective in that first quarter. But then he just steps right out of bounds.
Here's Jackson for three, but a whistle had blown as Jackson released the shot.
Tell you what, that might have counted too, because the call happened simultaneously. Question is, were they fouling Biedrins on purpose there? I mean, this is a little early for a hack of Biedrins, if that's what you want to call it.
Well, he's only a 55% free throw shooter during the regular season.
He did make a couple in the first half.
As we mentioned, has that unusual release, the line drive shot by Biedrins, so he's 3 of 5 at the line.
But what are you telling your team here if you're Avery Johnson? I mean, this is a club that has changed its identity under Johnson the last couple of years. You know, they've become much better defensively, but this is waving the white flag a little bit. This is basically saying, we can't stop them, we're going to foul Biedrins instead.
Dallas scoreless the last 4.5 minutes. And they're down by 21 with just under 3 to play in the third. Stackhouse. And they cannot find the range. The ball back to the Warriors as Michael Petrus checks back in.
And he gets a huge ovation. Well-deserved. Not only knocking down those free throws, but 12 boards on the night to go along with 12 points. He's been a defensive presence in the lane. And Dallas goes back to the zone. He immediately trapped Davis.
Here's Barnes. Oh, a facial over Nowitzki. 18 unanswered by the Warriors. This is extraordinary. Stackhouse able to lay it home.
And if you're wondering, where's Dirk? Golden State has done a terrific job in this entire series of surrounding him. They're playing a zone, but they're shading Nowitzki every time, and he's 1 for 11. It's easy to say, well, go to the hoop. Tough to go to the hoop against the zone.
Richardson for 3. And that went over the backboard, so the ball back to Dallas.
Well, this is something Dallas did at the end of Game 5. They went at Davis with a trap, but this is not what Golden State did. They settled for jumpers in that final 3 minutes. Don Nelson told his club, if they do that tonight, we attack the rim.
And obviously, Don Nelson, the man who traded for Dirk Nowitzki when he was head coach of the Mavericks, knows Dirk very well, knows all the tendencies, and that has certainly been an advantage in this series. Loose ball foul is charged to Stackhouse. They went over the limit very early, and that has hurt.
Well, take a look at what Golden State is doing to Dirk. They're playing a little 3-2 zone, but you see Richardson's not going to leave him. Petrus isn't going to leave him. Steven Jackson with an arm on him. Now Petrus, no matter where he goes, and no matter what defense Golden State is in, man-to-man or zone, they're laying in his lap, and he just cannot get out of that trap.
Warriors with free throws 12 and 13 in this third quarter. They're now 9 for 12. Dallas has not been to the line here in the third. That 18-0 run ended just a moment ago, but it has been total destruction here in the third quarter by Golden State.
I'll tell you the other thing Golden State has done well, they've kept Devin Harris in front of them. Remember last game, Harris broke free for 16 points. A lot of points late, penetrating to the hoop, but tonight, not much going to the rim for Harris.
And here is Harris, fouled by Petrus. That is his first. Dallas has outscored Golden State 32-11 here in the third quarter. So Harris to the line with 1:33 remaining in the third. From exclusive courtside interviews to encore performances of the Emmy Award-winning Inside the NBA, log on to NBA.com for TNT Overtime's excellent playoff coverage. TNT Overtime, the basketball broadband channel that's on all the time, only at NBA.com.
I'll tell you the other problem with Dallas shooting so few free throws here tonight, Marv, is that when they shoot a lot of free throws, they're able to get their defense set up at the other end. They can slow the game down. They can control the tempo. When they don't get to the line, Golden State is able to get out running and create the pace that they like.
And they were second in free throw shooting at 81%, but a team that does not get to the line frequently. And tonight we're looking at 9 free throws overall, 6 of 9. That's it. Here's Davis for 3. Rebounded by Howard. Harris open for 3. Yes. Devin Harris with the angle shot from three-point territory. The Warriors 82, the Mavericks 63.
A couple of big plays from Harris. They're getting to the line, then knocking down the three. But your Golden State, that's the man you want shooting from three-point range.
Here's Davis going glass, going right at Nowitzki.
And I like that much more than that three-pointer he shot on the previous possession. He knows that Dallas is over the limit. Foul-wise, he's got to continue to attack.
20 points for Davis. Howard is left open for 3. Petrus comes away with it.
Nelson wants a 2 for 1 here. They never slow it down.
Davis got the step. Davis. Rebounded by George. And Harris pulls it back. Nowitzki gives it up. George for 3. There's the outlet. Barnes to the hoop. And foul. Foul by Harris.
You know, any other coach in the league in that situation would have said, pull it out, let's take the last shot. But on that replay, or on that long rebound, I looked over at Don Nelson. There was 13 seconds on the game clock, or there is now. It was about 16 when they got the ball. He's waving to his team, go, we've got the advantage, continue to attack. And I like the mentality. That's what got them the lead in this series in the first place. And remember, they got away from that late in Game 5, and that's when they lost their aggressiveness.
But Steve, getting back to Dirk Nowitzki, one of the leading candidates for most valuable player honors when you talk regular season. Dallas in a huge hole here. He has attempted 1 shot in the third quarter.
Well, we saw that at the end of Game 5. He had not attempted a shot in the fourth quarter and until those 2 late threes. So I think at some point, you know, you're the MVP. You got to at least fire a couple of shots from long range. Just get a shot up.
Here's George, and that's the end of the third quarter. The Warriors outscore the Mavericks 36-15, and Golden State could be 12 minutes of basketball away from pulling off the biggest upset in the history of the NBA playoffs.
very happy people in the city of Oakland and San Francisco. Baron Davis with a great night for the Warriors as Dallas is up big, as the Warriors are up big over Dallas, taking place each year in Los Angeles. The Midsummer Night's Dream weekend includes a variety of events featuring celebrities and athletes, highlighted by a basketball game featuring the Baron Davis All-Stars and the Paul Pierce All-Stars. The weekend is presented by LA Stars, a charitable group composed for the Baron Davis Foundation and the Celtics Paul Pierce Trust Fund. NBA Cares, continuing a tradition of basketball and service to the community. Baron Davis, a leader on and off the court. Mark.
All right, thank you, Pam. Here we go. Fourth quarter is underway. Dallas in possession. Maurice Ager off the bench, and he scores. So Avery Johnson with a substitution here at the start of the fourth, looking to get some scoring. First-round draft pick out of Michigan State, who did not play very much during the regular season.
He did make a couple of hoops late in Game 3 during that Warrior blowout, so at least he's gotten a taste of the series.
Here's Petrus to the rim, flying over Terry.
Well, Avery Johnson has gone to an offensive lineup. No more Jop. This is a small lineup. We got basically all guards and wings on the floor, but you know what? This is exactly what Don Nelson loves. Look at Nelson's lineup. This is how he wants to play anyway.
Howard taking the pass from Nowitzki, who again drew the double team. Dallas shot just 6 for 21 in the third. Golden State 10 of 16. Jackson to the rim.
No Jop. You know, that's why Jop was on the floor so often in this series, to try to protect the rim. But we got small ball going, and you better believe the Warriors are going to attack the rim.
That's the first two-point field goal for Jackson. Offensive foul on Stackhouse. Stephen Jackson has hit 7 threes. And that one bucket on the drive for 27 points.
I don't think anybody has sat down here or in the second half. I mean, I had a friend of mine call me after Game 3 from the Bay Area. He said it's the greatest sporting event he had ever attended in his life. I think a lot of people tonight are going to say the same thing.
Oh, what a pass from Barnes. Jackson scores. And the Warriors building that lead, 92-67. Unless there is a dramatic turn, this will be just a horrendous off-season for Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavericks, as Dirk hits only his second field goal. I mean, can you imagine what these guys are going to face? Unless right now it's a miraculous turn that is needed to pull this game out. Dallas, 67 wins during the regular season, 67-15, best record in the NBA. They had those 3 long win streaks, including 17 in a row. And on the verge of being knocked out of it here by the Warriors. Davis off the mark, rebounded by Howard. Still lots of time, 9.5 to play. But the Mavericks have shown no signs. Howard. So it's a 92-71 advantage. And a delay of game is called. Second delay of game. Would mean a technical foul.
And the big thing for Golden State, I think, is to continue to attack. A turnover here, possibly. Yep. Turnover here, so a little carelessness from the Warriors. And Baron Davis, we saw him settle for a long 3 on the previous possession. It's way too early to get into the stall mode. Warriors have to continue to play with that abandon that's been so good for them all series long.
And that stall mode is something they are not accustomed to, as we saw in Game 5 in those final minutes. Taken away by Barnes. 3-on-2 develops. Richardson. Rebounded by Richardson. Pushes it out. Davis for 3. Davis able to come up with the offensive board. A third consecutive possession for Golden State.
And again, that's the problem with this small lineup for Dallas. They're more likely to give up second and third opportunities.
Jackson makes the turn. Yes, and the foul. Timeout is called. When we come back, Stephen Jackson will go to the line looking for the three-point play. 94-71 Warriors.
What do you think, Mark?
Don Nelson in his second tour of duty with the Golden State Warriors. The last time the Warriors won a playoff series was back in 1991, exactly 16 years ago to the day. Coached by a youthful Don Nelson, they beat San Antonio in Game 4 to clinch their first-round series. It was a best of 5. Tim Hardaway led the Warriors with 32. Chris Mullin with 23 points. And a backup point guard by the name of Avery Johnson did not play in that game for the Spurs.
And I love the young Tom Tolbert slamming home the final play. Look at Paul McKeskey, Alton Lister. You know, Don Nelson has had this type of team throughout his career. I mean, it's by design. Not really a center, open up the floor, play small. The difference, though, now to those early 90s teams, this team is physically strong and tough. Those teams couldn't defend anybody. That's why they never went anywhere in the postseason. This club is imposing physically at the guard positions, and that's one of the reasons they've been able to take Dirk Nowitzki out of this game and out of this series for the most part.
There's Terry with a three-point attempt. And Davis is on it. Prior to this season, the last time Golden State made the playoffs was 1994 under Don Nelson. Since then, there were 8 head coaches, and Nelson's return represents number 9 as Barnes is sent sprawling. A foul on Adrian. Incidentally, for Stephen Jackson, who's the high point man with 31, that is a playoff career high. He's had 21 of his 31 in the second half. 8 minutes and 12 seconds to play in the fourth. And the Warriors in command, 94-71.
And still, nobody has sat down the entire half. Listen to this crowd.
Davis trying to back in, and a foul is called on Terry, a holding foul. That's 4 on Terry.
I didn't think I would ever get to the point where I could actually feel sorry for a 67-win team. I kind of feel sorry for that. Their legacy is going right down the drain, and Dirk Nowitzki's in particular he's going to have to endure so much criticism. He deserved the MVP this year. Had a phenomenal season. He's a terrific guy, one of the most unassuming people you could meet. And I feel badly for Dirk and this entire team, frankly.
That's a three-point attempt. Rebounded by Nowitzki, and he's fouled by Davis. And that legacy goes back to the NBA Finals last year.
Yeah, when it looked like the Mavericks had Miami, they were up 2-0, and then they lost 4 straight. Stackhouse can't get the three to go. Another rebound for Petrus. But we go back again to what Flip Saunders was talking about, the final month of the season that Detroit went through a year ago. They lost their edge. This is exactly what's happened to Dallas.
Nice move by Jackson, but comes up short. And remember the statement made by Dirk after Miami came from behind to take that series. Terry puts it home. Nowitzki saying, well, we just threw it away. We gave it away to Miami, and several Heat players, in particular Dwayne Wade, Shaquille O'Neal, upset, saying that, no, we won that series. We took it away. We came from behind.
And I don't think Dirk meant anything by it. He wasn't trying to criticize Miami. It was more that he was saying, hey, we kind of blew it. But Miami took it personally.
Deflected out. And last touch by Jackson, so it'll be Dallas ball. Austin Crozier will check back in.
And Stackhouse will go to the bench after that incredible first half in which he scored 18 points. Stack with just 2 here in the second.
And you look at the overall record of the Mavericks. Oh, that's a hard foul by Barnes on Ager. And let's see, Steve Javie, very quick to move out of the scene, and that's a flagrant. That's been called. It's a flagrant 1.
Good call. No play on the ball from Barnes, and that's the key. And now Ager will go to the line.
Dallas will take possession after the free throws by Ager.
You have to at least try to block the shot here, and it's just a 2-hand shove from Barnes. Good call by the officials.
Steve, this is a Maverick team that went 31-10 on the road. Best road record in franchise history, best road record in the NBA. Dallas has lost 5 straight road games to Golden State coming into tonight. And they've lost 5 straight road games in the playoffs going back to the NBA Finals of last year.
And I'll tell you what has really helped this team too is the zone defense rule that was implemented, 4 or 5 years ago into the NBA. Golden State's been in a zone for much of this series. You couldn't do that 5, 6 years ago. Things would have been a lot easier on Dirk Nowitzki if under the old rule.
There's Davis with the shot clock running down, and Petrus is right there. Warriors on most of the loose balls.
Just a step ahead of Dallas, not only in this game, but for the entire series.
Oh, beautiful one bounce pass for Richardson. Petrus on target. Richardson with the steal. And the onslaught continues. Richardson sets his feet for 3. Yes! January that a blockbuster 8-player trade with the Indiana Pacers turned the Golden State Warriors around. It did not happen immediately, but the long-range effect, the end result is what we are seeing throughout this series and here tonight. At one point, the Warriors were 26-35, and Baron Davis was recovering from the arthroscopic knee surgery. And Don Nelson at that point said, we have no shot to make the playoffs.
Well, what happened with the trade is the Warriors got much tougher and more athletic as a result. Steven Jackson showing how fearless he is throughout this series, but defensively, Jackson's been huge, covering Nowitzki an awful lot. He loses him there, and he'll get called for the foul. But remember, Harrington also, even though he's been a non-factor in this series, he averaged 17 points a game once he became a Warrior.
And there's the Vice President of Basketball Operations, a very happy guy, I would think, Chris Mullin, a future Hall of Famer.
And, you know, he's taken his share of heat as the Warriors GM over the years. He's made a lot of controversial moves. He's made some free agent signings that a lot of Warriors fans are scratching their heads about. But I think the best move that Chris Mullin has made was bringing back Don Nelson, because that tied everything together.
And that was a surprising development because it happened so late. It was last August he replaced Mike Montgomery, Nelly, giving up the beach in Maui to make his return. He is the second winningest coach in NBA history, his 28th season as an NBA head coach. With one on the shot clock, Richardson again for three.
Just incredible. Yeah, the ball movement. There you see Dallas again trapping Davis. They're just moving the ball. They're making shots. And the ball will go back to Golden State.
The Warriors 42-40 during the regular season. They needed a win in Portland on the final night of the season to clinch that 8th and final playoff berth. Here's Barnes. And apparently holding the rim was the call. Looked like it was Petrus. So the ball back to the Mavericks. Golden State finished the season. They won 9 of the last 10, 16 of their final 21. And for the Warriors, their first winning record since back in 93 and 94. Dirk Nowitzki getting the treatment as he heads back to the bench in what has been a nightmare. 2 for 13. Only 8 points in his 39 minutes.
Come on, you brought up that Portland game that Golden State had to win in the final game of the season as Ager gets a jumper to go. Remember, Golden State played Dallas in this building in that last week, and the Mavericks chose to rest their starters. And they basically laid down. They said, you know, I think part of it was psychological. I think they felt like if they had played everybody and lost again, that the Warriors would have had a major psychological edge in a postseason matchup. But think about this. Had they won that game, they probably would not have faced Golden State in the first round.
The ironies of what takes place down the stretch.
This series is filled with irony.
And over the last 20 years, the team with the best record of the NBA has won the championship 10 times. Of the 12 teams, as we see Jackson fire one up as he is fouled, of the 12 teams that had 65 wins or more, all but one went on to win a title. Only the Celtics of 72-73 did not win a championship. That team went 68-14, and the Knicks and Clyde and the Pearl and Bradley, DeBusschere, Reed, Jerry Lucas won the championship, beating the Lakers, and they knocked off the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. And Don Nelson was on that Celtics team. We were talking about it with Don earlier, and I said, what do you remember about that? And, well, he said John Havlicek, the great John Havlicek, had an injured right shoulder and actually played left-handed throughout the series.
Well, so often we see injuries playing a factor in the playoffs, and it sure looked like Golden State was in trouble here early when Baron Davis got injured, but we've got to look at this in a historical context. We brought up the name of Willis Reed earlier, but Baron Davis's performance tonight on the bad wheel, one of the most amazing nights you'll see in a situation like this.
That's an offensive foul, the charge on Crozier.
Once again, just the activity of Golden State. I think that's been the theme of this series and a lot of the NBA playoffs. We've seen it in other series as well. Speed and quickness. It's winning. The teams with speed and strength and quickness who can switch defensively, who can play multiple lineups, those are the ones that are winning. That's modern day NBA basketball.
And looking ahead, you mentioned the miraculous performance here by Davis. We don't know the severity of the injury, but he's been hobbling around, and it is a pulled hamstring. Beautiful pass. Petrus is fouled by Harris. But the concern has to be what will happen in the next series. Of course, the Warriors are happy to be thinking about a next series. They will play the winner of Houston and Utah, who will meet in a deciding Game 7 on Saturday night right here on TNT. All right, Steve, it's time now for the Marines teamwork play of the game.
Well, remember in Game 5, this double team of Davis at the top of the half-court area really bothered Golden State. We asked Don Nelson about that before the game. He said, we're going to hit the other man right in the middle. You saw Petrus flash to the foul line, the bounce pass, and once the ball is right there, then it's 4-on-3 basically, and you've got a huge advantage. Petrus making the beautiful feed to Jason Richardson.
We're down to 2 minutes and 58 seconds to play in the fourth quarter. And Michael Petrus at the line. It is a 25-point lead for Golden State. So as we wind down, both teams that played in the NBA Finals last season, Dallas and Miami, will be out of it. He swept by the Bulls. Golden State will become only the third, 8th seed to beat a number 1 and the first to pull it off since the NBA adopted a best-of-7 first round. That was back in 2003. Harris is off the mark. Barnes able to keep that dribble alive. And for the Warriors, this will be the first time that they've won a best-of-7 playoff series since back in 75-76. when they beat Detroit in the Western Conference semifinals, and their first round playoff win since '91, as we mentioned before, when they beat San Antonio. Davis tried to knock down that three. Substitutions now. Warriors empty the bench. Baron Davis over to hug Ronnie Lott.
Why not? Why not? And Marv, while we're talking about the Warriors, we got to look ahead because they may not be done. So they're going to face the winner of Utah and Houston. As you see Nelly and Barron sharing a laugh. Can you imagine if Houston goes on and wins that series? Can you imagine Yao Ming trying to deal with this speed?
Here's Ager firing an air ball. Crozier not able to get to it. Houston and Utah will meet in the 7th and deciding game Saturday night in Houston. See Golden State taking the season series 2-1 against the
I don't know if they can handle this kind of speed. I don't think Yao Ming can keep up this kind of pace. And the Warriors can treat Tracy McGrady much the same way they've treated Dirk, with a slew of defenders, long-armed, athletic, physically strong defenders.
Harris knocks down a 3. Well, Monte Ellis has checked back in. Helena Azubuike, rookie out of Kentucky, has come on for the first time. There's Petrus, and he is fouled by Harris. With 1 minute and 18 remaining for this Dallas Maverick season. A season that saw them win 67 games. Best record in the league. Tied for the 6th best record of all time in terms of winning percentage. Most wins in franchise history. They had the best home record in the league. They had the best road record in the league. And they are being taken out here in the first round by a team that just did make the playoffs on the final night of the regular season.
And where do the Mavericks go from here? I don't think there will be a lot of personnel changes, but in terms of emotionally, how do they enter next season? Because they laid all their cards on the table to start this year. They said, if we don't win the championship, it's a disaster. They conducted themselves like they were going to be there. So much confidence, almost an arrogance about Avery Johnson and Mark Cuban. They felt so good about the versatility of this roster, and yet they get embarrassed here in the first round. Talk about a hangover next year. I mean, how do you begin training camp?
All right, here's Harris coming up short. 1 minute remaining. And Powell is fouled. Josh Powell, who checked in a moment ago, one-time member of the Mavericks, originally signed as a free agent with Dallas after 2 years at North Carolina State, and he's headed for 2 free throws.
I don't know if I've ever seen a better crowd either, Marvin. I mean, in my entire career of playing and watching basketball, even at the college level, you know, maybe this is something you'd see at Cameron Indoor Stadium at Duke or something, but I've never seen an entire crowd stand for the whole second half. Never seen that.
It does have that collegiate atmosphere. It's a record crowd for the Warriors, better than 20,000. A building that provides much emotion and energy, and that's been right from the opening tip. That's a three-pointer. Sarunas Jasikevičius making a cameo along with the Donald Foyle as Don Nelson is giving everybody a shot here in the final minute and a half. Down to 20 seconds, 4 on the shot clock. Oh, the crowd loves it. Azubuike with the bucket. 111-83. There's Ager firing a 3. And we are final seconds. The Golden State Warriors have pulled off the greatest upset in the history of the NBA playoffs. They have defeated the Dallas Mavericks in 6 as the confetti comes from above. 111-86, the final score, and now the Warriors can wait for the winner between Houston And Utah, that will be decided in Houston on Saturday night. Now time for tonight's closer of the game, presented by TNT's The Closer.
Well, Baron Davis, I mean, we didn't know if he was going to play after that hamstring injury early, and he had to resort to three-point shots in the first half. But I thought what was most impressive was the way he continued to attack the rim in the second half. We didn't know if he could do anything like that on that one leg, but he got into the paint. He helped generate the chaotic state that this place needed, these fans needed. First half, the fans were not as big of a factor, but Davis's play and that of Steven Jackson got this place going.
An all-new season of The Closer starts June 18th on TNT. Davis finishes 7 of 17, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. He does it on one leg. And here's Baron with Pam Oliver.
Yes, he is a warrior in more ways than one. Baron, how deep did you have to dig for that one?
That was deep. I had strained my hamstring in the first half, and it didn't look like I could have much lift attacking the basket. Every time I tried to attack the basket, I just didn't have any explosiveness. I looked at Steven Jackson. He didn't say nothing to me. I knew we had it.
Describe what you're feeling and the thrill that you've given to the people of the city.
This is a great feeling. To upset, to make history, to upset a number 1 seed, and to do it on our home floor. This is what we wanted to be back for. We let Game 5 slip away, but we came here and we handled our business in the second half.
Tell me what you thought about Dallas. What did you sense from them? Did you think you could bury them so thoroughly?
The first half, we were lucky to be up 2. As bad as we played, we thought they played a great game. They shot the ball well in the first half. We just wanted to see how long that they hot shooting could stay on.
Talk about the next series. I know you guys feel like this is probably the beginning for you.
Yeah, this is definitely a beginning, and like I said, we were going to learn a lot. We're going to learn a whole lot in this series, and we did. You look at the technicals, you look at the foul, the fines, and the different altercations, but through all, we kept our poise, we kept our heads, and I know a lot of people say a lot of bad things about Steven Jackson, but they never give him credit for being a good basketball player.
Absolutely, and finally, do you expect to be ready for Game 1?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
He's so polite.
Say hi to my sister.
Hello.
It's a girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Magic. Yeah, Magic.
All right, Marv.
Baron talking about Steven Jackson. He goes 10 of 19. He had 7 threes. The high point man with 33. And the numbers on Dirk Nowitzki, 2 for 13, only 8 points. Now, prior to this season, only 2 number 8 seeds had ever upset a number 1. It was 94. Denver did it to Seattle. 99 of the lockout season. The Knicks beat the Heat on that Allen Houston game winner, but both of those series were best of 5. An astonishing accomplishment by the Warriors to defeat the Dallas Mavericks, a team that won 67 games during the regular season. Our producer tonight, Scooter Vertino, director Renato Lowe, associate director Tom Heitz, production assistants Tim McDermott and Wayne